First, I have the privilege of being joined by Melanie Wubs from Samaritans First Canada, a Christian relief organization known for aiding victims all over the world. And so, welcome, Melanie, to the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill.
Of course. Well, last year, we had the privilege of speaking with your executive director, Fred, where we heard about the launch of the new Canadian Emergency Field Hospital. Now we're seeing that vision become a reality in Myanmar. So can you walk us through how it feels to see this come full circle and why this deployment is so significant?
Yeah, so this deployment comes pretty much exactly 1 year after we were prepared here in Canada to be able to deploy emergency field hospital capacity. So, whereas we never want a disaster to happen, our goal, our mission statement with our disaster response team is to save lives and reduce stuff and to reduce suffering. So, we're so thankful that we were prepared and we were ready to respond to this earthquake. It being in the Pacific Rim, it was well within the reach of our aircraft to be able to move this from Calgary, and our disaster assistance response team was ready to head there. And so we're so grateful for this opportunity to respond.
It is great, really, because we are called as followers of Christ to be the hands and feet of Jesus in very practical ways,
Yeah.
and that's what you're doing. Now, what's really interesting is that you've actually led over 20 deployments into some of the world's hardest hit regions like Ukraine, Iraq, Haiti, and now Myanmar. So what makes the response in Myanmar unique, and how is the emergency field hospital being used to meet some of the really critical needs there on the ground?
Yeah, for sure. So with an earthquake, like you can imagine, the medical needs following are immense.
Hmm.
Broken bones, fractures, wounds, and not only are people affected, but so are the hospitals, so is the healthcare system. And in Myanmar, this earthquake hit some of those largest cities in Napata, in Mandalay. So the system that would normally respond was devastated. So the emergency field hospital and our advanced mobile surgical team landed on the ground in Napita, and right away were able to provide surgical support to patients who might have had some initial surgery done but needed extensive orthopedic surgeries. So that advanced team could get to work. And then the field hospital was set up within 24 hours, and then the emergency room opened the additional operating theater. So we're able to provide just really high levels of emergency care right where it's needed the most. So we linked in with the Ministry of Health to be able to offload patients that were waiting in a stadium, just rows and rows of beds. So our team was able to just get to work immediately with the patients there.
Yeah, what an amazing feat, really, when you think about it. I mean, you had to mobilize a hospital out of Calgary, and you had to
Yeah.
deploy like 28 disaster response specialists in a matter of days. That's a
Mhm.
really big deal. So, can you give us a behind the scenes look at what it really takes to do something like that? How are you able to respond so quickly and prepare and equip people to go like this?
Yeah, for sure. So readiness is key. We always talk about
Hmm.
readiness, and that really comes to a point when an earthquake hits. So we have an incident management team that works immediately, coordinating with the government, logistics, the airport authority, and everything related to kind of all of those external factors to respond internationally. And then we also on our team have our staffing specialists who are working with our disaster assistance response team members who are professionals like you, like I, who work jobs and have families, but are committed and trained to respond. So they work in coordination to get a team off the ground. But yeah, like you said, readiness is not just the physical, it's the spiritual, it's the emotional, and just so grateful for our team members who really have this calling on their life and have followed that call. And it affects them, it affects their families. So we work with them to prepare them to go, but also support them when they come home after they've just poured out so much love, and also a lot of hard work on the field in Myanmar.
Yeah, well, let me just take a moment to say thank you for doing that, for representing the faith community, but also our nation really well and helping people in their greatest points of need. And you often speak about the importance of what you call contextual, geographical, relevant, compassionate care. Now
Yeah,
that's a mouthful, but
it
what,
is
so
a
what,
mouthful. Yes.
so what does it actually mean in a place like Myanmar?
Yeah, so in a place like Myanmar, that starts right from the get go. That starts from working with the local authorities to assess which site the hospital is going to go. it's great to bring this capacity, but if nobody's able to reach the hospital, if they don't know that it's there, if they don't know the services that are provided, that doesn't help them. So we work both with the government, but also with the local community, faith leaders, churches, the local Buddhist monks, to be able to inform them of what's happening there, the services that are provided, and then also working with local staff. So our translators are incredible. They work with us to be able to not just help with language, but also with culture, and being able to integrate appropriate services into the field hospital. We have support from the local church and other faith leaders to provide spiritual support for patients. And then really the reality is in a disaster like this, when you're showing up, when you're caring, when you're loving on people, and you view them in the image of God, all of that really falls away. The Myanmar people are incredibly gracious, and just so thankful for the care that they're being received and for the love that's being shown them. And it's really in those interactions, in the day to day, seeing a mom treating her child, being able to provide physiotherapy to somebody who has a broken leg and now has to learn to walk with crutches. You're just able to really connect as people, and to be able to share love, to share hope. This is a really challenging place. And now this earthquake has devastated homes, water systems, livelihoods, schools, and just to be able to, in that, to come together, to share some of the hope that we have in Jesus, is just really special. And it's not just for victims of the earthquake. We've been operational in Myanmar for now almost 30 days, and we've seen close to 5,000 patients, done over 250 surgeries, not just for victims of the earthquake, but people who have other health concerns. And it's just been a privilege to be able to come alongside them in this time and know that they're not forgotten.
Well, thank you so much for all that you're doing. We're cheering you on. We're praying with and for you. And if you're watching and you want to get involved, you can visit our website. We have all the information there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Bill.